Hey folks, Aaron from the Property Scoop here, and welcome to another interview with a local real estate agent. Today, we're talking to Mike Gjestland from Lease Property here in Perth. So Mike's a bit of a superstar from reading his bio. He's ranked in the top 10 agents in WA multiple times by REIWA, and he's currently ranked the #1 top seller there by REIWA. And in 2021, he ranked 4th in Western Australia by REIWA for number of sales in the 2020-2021 year. So pretty impressive start. Hi, Mike. How you going? And welcome.
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for having us on the show.
Yeah, no problems. So maybe you could just tell folks a little bit about yourself in terms of real estate stuff and also what area you focus in, what suburbs. I suspect it's Banksia Grove by the sounds of it.
Yeah, we predominantly focus on the northern suburbs, Aaron. So I started in real estate in 2013, came out from the UK. I'm actually South African. So we're coming up to 10 years in Australia now. And yeah, I'm the top ranked agent in Banksia Grove, but we kind of cover pretty much the northern suburbs, really.
Right. So for those who are not familiar with Banksia Grove, where is it exactly?
So we're in Wanneroo Shire, just east of Karramai and Tapping, just north of Wanneroo, 10 minutes to Burns Beach.
Okay.
So entry-level suburb, it's kind of a first home buyer territory.
Right.
And some people kind of move there to downsize as well.
Okay. So is it more of a new area or is it an older area?
There's a bit of a mixture of both. You can say probably 2/3 of the suburb is around the kind of 10 years or younger.
Right. Okay. So that should be interesting for real estate in terms of people coming towards that pretty typical 10-year gap where they decide they want to start selling and moving on.
Yeah. So a lot of our clients have bought their first property from us and then gone on to, I've got some that bought and sold through us 3 times already. So yeah, that's pretty typical.
Okay, cool. All right. So what I wanted to do, obviously today I wanted to talk a bit about your predictions for the property market in Banksia Grove and that area for 2023. Your crystal ball's probably no better than mine, but I think that you probably know better about what's going on there than anyone else. So before we dive into that, could you give me an overview of how things went in your local market for 2020? Because we're in, the 22nd of December, so Christmas is in 3 days. So yeah, how did things go?
We had a pretty bumpy year. I'd say this past 12 months will be the best 12 months we've ever had. So transaction volumes are up. Days on market are kind of shortened from in the mid-30s all the way down to 2 and a bit weeks. So a cracky year. On all accounts, pretty much anything that came to market was gone as quick as we could list it, really.
Yeah. And are you selling by yourself? Do you have a team with you or an office or what?
So I'm sort of a sole agent. I've got a full-time assistant, Adriana. So she actually started this year about 6 months ago. But prior to that, I was flying solo and, working 48 hours a day. So luckily I've got a bit of assistance now, which is great. But yeah, just myself. I don't run a big team by any means.
Right. And so for those who don't know, SLP or Sell Lease Property who you work for, they're more of a independent agents type of deal rather than a big office with a whole pile of agents working from different locations, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's kind of an umbrella business, and we operate under the brand, but essentially we're kind of small business owners on our own account.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So if you look back over 2020 in your local area specifically, what were the big events that shaped the market and how did those impact you directly at a local?
Well, so the early part of the year, we saw just absolutely mental influx from the eastern states. I'd say January, February, March, April, pretty much that first quarter, we got absolutely slammed with buyer interest from people looking to actually move here. So right through the year, we've had pretty solid investor activity, but the first part of the year, for us, we would be going into a house, doing 2 swings with a mobile, and guys are buying properties, just off a video. That brought its own challenges. You think it's easy to start with, but they can be difficult to navigate. As the interest rates started going up the middle of the year, I think that has kind of changed the landscape. So buyers are starting to maybe just get a little bit nervous, upgrading sellers that may have been more inclined to move from first home owner territory up to the $800,000 and $900,000 homes, going from a 2-3% interest rate up to 5 or 6. I think that's probably starting to change things a bit, where people are going, well, maybe I'm just going to sit tight a little bit. So first home buyer activity still strong, investor activity still strong, maybe just a little bit of a slowdown on that sort of upgrader.
So what's the median price in your area?
So anything from around 4 to 550 is about average.
So everyone in Sydney and Melbourne are just going, what?
We'll get guys from the eastern states come out and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This would be 1.5 million and you only want 500.
Yeah.
So, when you're negotiating with them for an extra 10 or 20 grand, they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yep. Sounds good. You take two,
right? Well, you laugh, but we've got some buyers that we've sold literally multiple properties to, not even 2s and 3s, but that have come in and we've worked hand in hand with them and kind of had multiple properties that we've got tenants ready to go. So as soon as they settle, tenants move in.
So particularly these East Coast buyers, why are they mostly buying? Are they buying just to move here, or are they buying primarily to get cheap investment properties?
So I'd say the front half of last year or this year, predominantly guys moving to live, because I think there was a lot of employment. I think once the sort of lockdowns ended, that kind of had enough of it over East and just decided to move over here. And then I'd say the latter part of the year, well, there was always investor activity, but it's more investor activity towards the back end now, and probably as we move into next year, we'll probably be expecting that to tail off a little bit, because as the prices go up, the sweet spot in terms of the yield is probably going to start to dry up a little bit.
So speaking of prices, how much have they gone up in the last, say, year or so? Do you have a rough idea?
Yeah, look, typically anything from 10 to 15% in our area. I've got clients that had, for example, bought a house at 350 with us in the last 18 months, and then we've resold them at 450 or more without them even seeing up the year. So there's been a pretty significant jump up there.
Are you finding it's leveling off, or is it still going up a bit?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see things sort of walk sideways. So certainly, looking over East prices are kind of, but we haven't seen that happening in Perth yet. I think we're just starting to kind of do a crab dance to the side. The days on market are starting to stretch out a little bit. Whereas you put a house on the market, be gone, a lot of the time, even before it went on the market, it was gone. But buyers are maybe coming for a second inspection now or shopping around a little bit more. So they're still selling at more or less where you'd expect them to sell. They're not kind of got to the point where the sellers are getting desperate and taking lowball offers. Yeah. But we're having to work harder for our money now, not just order takers that we probably were 6 to 12 months ago.
So what are the big questions you're getting asked by buyers and sellers recently, and what kind of answers have you been giving them? Because as you say, the market has changed for everyone, whether it's because of inflation or whatever.
It really depends where in the sort of life cycle the buyers, sellers are. The upsizers, like I said to you, they're asking themselves questions there, whether they want to take on a chunkier mortgage at a higher interest rate. So we can't give them the answer for that. That's their decision to make. If they've got a growing family, I just say to them, look, your kids aren't going to get any smaller. The toys aren't going to get any less in the house. If you're going to upgrade, you're going to have to do it. You're just going to have to bite the bullet. Downsizers, they sort of looking at it and going, hey, if I could have sold my 800,000 house and downsized, if the market does start to soften, they obviously won't get as much for the one that they're selling, but likewise, the one that they're buying will come down a little bit. So I would say it's a great time as a downsizer to be kind of considering moving to a lower maintenance, smaller kind of property. The big issue that we had really is people that are looking to sell and buy is trying to get the timing right. So super easy to sell your house. Like I actually joke with clients saying the easy part of the transaction will be selling. The harder part is actually buying, like having that availability of, I want to move from this house to that. Am I going to find the availability of the home that I'm looking to purchase? So a lot of the time we say, well, look, we can negotiate a longer settlement period with a buyer. So instead of the normal 8 weeks, let's ask the buyer for 3 months or even 4, which is kind of doable with first-time buyers, maybe living at home with their parents, or even if they're in a rental, for them to extend the rental, that's doable. So that gives the clients a bit of peace of mind. You can sell your house, you can get the price that you want, and you can have a bit of flexibility as to time to find the next home. So that's really a strategy that we've employed pretty rigidly throughout the year.
So where you're talking about people who are selling, are they kind of staying in the area, or are they moving quite a long way away?
So look, the bulk of people, it's probably typical within real estate around the world. Most people move within 10 kilometers. So we get a lot of first home buyers that move from a smallish 3-bedder in Banksia up to the neighbouring suburbs, tapping in Carramar into a family home 4x2. That's probably the most common. If they're both like dual income earners and they're both professionals, maybe had good job increases. Some of them are kind of bypassing that one-step move and going coastal in a single step. So up to the sort of 800s and 900s, but that's probably a much smaller percentage of the average.
Okay, so by the time most people watch this video, it's probably going to be 2023 anyway. So could you share with me your opinion on what you think is going to happen in your area in 2023? Now, obviously, you don't have a crystal ball that works any better than mine.
I mean, we're starting to kind of see the inclination of which way it's going. So like I said, we're kind of seeing a crab step to the side. I think certainly we're expecting interest rates to go up in January and February, probably into the middle part of the year. That's going to make buyers just potentially a little bit more nervous, and they're going to look at it and go, does this make sense at a certain price? But we're also seeing the rents are just going mental. So as a first home buyer, if you're looking at a smallish 3-4 bedroom home and you've got to pay $600 a week, and that would have been maybe $400 a week a year ago, that $200 a week, a lot of people are just saying, hey, well, we can buy for that. We can actually potentially even buy cheaper than renting. Yeah. So I think first home buyer activity, my prediction is that part of the market's still going to be pretty strong. I think upgraders, I think that'll probably slow down a little bit. I think people will maybe just sit tight and just sort of see whether the economy settles down, or there's all this talk of a global recession, whether that actually transpires in Australia or not. Downsizer activity, I think, is going to be strong. I think we're still going to see older people on the bigger blocks who just go, like, I'm over the maintenance. I can move to a 3 or 4 bedder with artificial grass in the back and not have to worry about anything and sit with money in the bank. It's a sure thing. It's a safe bet. I think we'll still see pretty strong activity in that regard. Price-wise, I think we'll probably see things sort of flattening out, maybe a tiny softening. But my prediction, honestly, I don't see it dropping more than 1 or 2%. If anything, it might even creep up because stock is certainly not abundant. So I think, there's still people moving out from overseas. There's still guys getting big job increases. If anything, I think it'll potentially maybe even just tickle up sort of 0 to 5%.
Cool. So you mentioned downsizing a couple of times, and when I have people coming through the Property Scoop website, I do kind of an impromptu survey of what their big questions or challenges are. And one that comes up quite regularly is people who are thinking about downsizing and wanting some tips and advice on that. Can you maybe share something with my viewers on that? Because it does seem to be quite a popular topic. So how do you tackle it? How do you advise your clients to do it, etc.?
Yeah, downsizing, it's a big emotional one, right? Like you've got someone who's potentially a little bit older, they're probably not earning anymore. So they've lost that sort of confidence in terms of if you make a decision, it doesn't quite go the way that you want. You've got monthly income coming in that you can kind of change tactic and still feel safe. They tend to take the time a little bit more in terms of making decisions, which is to be expected. But if you're living on a big block and it's a lot of maintenance and you're getting older and you can't manage it now, what's that going to be in 5 years' time? It's only going to get worse, right? And the maintenance of their house is going to get more and more expensive. The trades are expensive in Perth. So I normally say to people, look, if you wait for the market to decline, you're going to lose money on the bigger number property that you're selling. So that doesn't make sense. So it's really a case of finding something that you feel comfortable with. And the good thing with us, knowing the suburbs so well, is I'll have someone come into a home open and I can say, look, there's Doris over the road. She does come dine with me on a Wednesday night and has the neighbors around. You've got Marlene on the corner who's in her 60s and she's bought from us 5 years ago. And we can pretty much point out half of the people that live on the street, give them a bit of comfort as to the type of neighborhood that they're going to be moving into. Downsizing is always going to be one of those ones where people are always going to ask more questions, do second and third viewings, and want to have that comfort that they're kind of dealing with an agent that they can trust.
Yeah, sure. So what are your top 3 tips for homeowners that are thinking of selling in 2023 and they're obviously looking for the best result they can get?
In an amazingly fast-moving market, which we've had maybe the last 2 years, potentially people could get away with a little bit of maintenance here and there that wasn't 100% on the property. I think buyers are going to get a little bit fussier moving forward. I think if you invest the time up front to get your property looking 10 out of 10 rather than 7 out of 10, that's always our advice. We openly advertise, if you haven't got the time to get your house ready for sale, we do. So we have a trades list of people, and we'll come in and go, you know, you need a couple of lights changed out, you need the garden tidied up, you need some touch of paint done, you need the windows cleaned. We'll typically come in and go, like, rather than leaving it to the side, we'll just go bang, 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 bang. These are all the numbers. This is an approximate cost. Do you want to sort it out? Do you want to leave it with us and we'll make it all happen for you? So definitely, like anything that's worked for a buyer, take it away. Make sure that you make it as simple as possible for someone to just unpack their bags and move in. So present the house well. Do your homework on your finance. So if you're upsizing, downsizing, whatever you're going to do, invest the time up front to chat with a really good broker. Know confidently what your financial situation is. So you don't want to be going into selling your house and then finding out the rates go up once or twice, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, geez, I can't really afford the big improvement in lifestyle for the next home, so we might as well stay. Do your homework first in terms of price, really, and then, you know, pick the right agent. Pick an agent that knows your area, knows how to present your house well, knows how to market the house well, builds relationships well with the buyers, and as a seller, obviously makes you feel confident in them and comfortable working with them.
Yeah, let's be honest, in general, real estate agents aren't necessarily viewed well by people, but the bottom line is that selling your house is what they do better than anyone else. So you'd be stupid not with a good agent, really. I think you just cost money there.
Jump online and do some research before you pick an agent. Like, you know, it almost makes me giggle. Someone gets a 10-cent flyer in their post box, you know, list with us, we'll give you a $500 voucher or a free holiday, or, you know, whatever. You wouldn't pick your dentist or your surgeon or your lawyer or any important person off a flyer. Jump online, look at the reviews, see how long the agent's been in the area, look at how long it takes them to sell a house, how many homes they've sold. There's plenty of online tools that are really good to use to kind of compare agents and their performance.
Yeah, sure. Any tips for home buyers, people planning to buy in 2023?
Yeah, so finance, number one. Make sure that you've got a great broker and you've kind of checked out things. Secondly, buyers are sort of, some of them are coming through our home opens now. They're like, oh, should I wait? You know, is the market going to drop? Would I pick it up 5 or 10 grand cheaper 2-3 months from now? You know, like, we don't have a crystal ball, right? We can only estimate where we think things are going to go. But generally, like, properties it's kind of a lagging indicator. By the time you know that the prices have dropped, it generally runs off data from 3 months ago. And likewise, when prices start to trend up again, you only really find out 3 months after they've already started trending up. So trying to time the market exactly it's kind of pointless. Like, you're never going to be able to really do it. So if you want to buy a house and your option is renting, I'd say buy. If you want to buy a house because your family is getting bigger and you want to move to a new school, I'd say buy. They say buy real estate and wait. Don't wait to buy real estate.
Whatever happens, the price will probably go up over time. I mean, most people don't buy a home and sell it 6 months later. They're here for 10 years.
Yeah. I'm kicking myself. I actually made an offer on a property myself, and actually in our suburb with another agent about 6 months ago. And I probably came in 10 or 20 grand too light. And I'm looking back now thinking, oh, why did I do it? Fallen into the same trap. I'd probably be 50 grand ahead now. And at the time I was thinking, oh, you know, the market's at the peak, it's at the top, I'm going to make an offer that's a safe number. But looking back at it now and kind of thinking, why didn't I follow my own advice?
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of that old story about the shoemaker that has holes in his shoes and all of those kind of things. We're in the industry, we often don't do the stuff we tell our clients to do because we're too busy doing other stuff.
The same every time I go to appraise a painter's house, it's always the house that's never been painted. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, he'd rather somebody else pay him to paint than to do it for free for himself, I guess.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Bingo. Yeah.
So, okay, cool.
I think 2023 is going to be a pretty exciting year. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with interest rates and how that impacts things. I've got a degree in economics. I look at the macroeconomics and you go, like, everyone's getting wage increases. They can't find enough staff to fill the jobs that are being advertised, right? The rents are going up. Like, all the macro indicators for positive property growth are there. There's all this negativity in the press. Eastern states is kind of coming off. But geez, the big one for me is when China comes out of COVID lockdown and into full production. Like, you think that as a government, I'm predicting they are going to absolutely pump cash into building, try and get as much employment happening as they can. So I think we're sitting on all the resources that they need, right? So I'm expecting that demand will just go whoop, in which case, we might actually see a property spike coming rather than just a sort of sideways movement. So that, I think that's really the big one to watch for the next 12 months.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, mate. So thank you very much there. I appreciate your time and your knowledge. So for anyone who is in or around the Banksia Grove area, if they're looking for a great agent, what's your phone number?
0466 115 688. If you jump on Google and just put Mike SLP or real estate agent Banksia Grove, you'll find us on there, because I've got a weird spelled surname and you probably won't remember the number. But yeah, if you're looking for an investment property with good yields, or you're looking to buy, give us a buzz. We'd love to help.
No problems. All right, Mike, thanks heaps for taking the time to talk to me. Have a great Christmas and a new year. We'll speak to you again another time, I'm sure.
Same to you, mate. Take it easy.
All right.
Cheers, pal.